Hello guys, so glad to be back and for you guys to be joining me again. I know it's been a little bit longer than usual. It's been a busy time. I just moved back into school, so that's been exciting. But yeah, let's just start with a prayer today, as we always do. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. I thank you for waking us all up today, that we have roofs over our head, that we have food to eat, water to drink, that we are not lacking in the things that we need, Lord. We thank you that you're working all things together for the good. Whatever we're going through, whatever situation, whatever circumstance that we're going through in our lives that may seem like there's no answer, too unpredictable, there's no solution, that you are our solution, Lord. Thank you for that. I ask you to please bless this video and just give me your anointing to make it as good as possible, as entertaining as possible, Lord, so that my viewers will truly enjoy it. And yeah, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. All right, guys. So today, we're gonna do a Matchweek 4 preview. I'm planning on doing these every week now, for the games, and yeah, I'll try to put them out 1 week in advance because I think that's the best way of doing it. Just so I know they're gonna be long videos, just based off of what the video is. So keeping that in mind, when I give you guys enough time to be able to watch the whole thing, and come to it whenever you have the free time, not feel too pressured, and then you can take it as you go. But yeah, I think it's also me just wanting to get my content out ahead of people, ahead of all the Stephen Housens, the James Alcotts, the Rory Jennings of the world. So yeah, to get started, first game of the week is going to be Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. For Arsenal, they still have a couple injuries. I think Saliba is still injured, Saka still injured, and Havertz as well. I think hopefully he starts. I think he'll probably start this game. And if he does he play with Odegaard? That's the question. So last game, they were playing against Liverpool, albeit, so that is fair. And was it at Anfield? I think it was at Anfield. And so I can see why maybe Arteta would not have wanted to go full out, although this has been my major criticism of him. If you read my article on Arteta, I just don't think he has a killer instinct. He needs to go into games looking to win. We already saw how he came to the Etihad against City I think it was 2 seasons ago, and then drew and was happy to draw basically, and then it ended up costing them in the end. So I think it will be interesting to see if Eze will play with Odegaard, Eze on the left, Odegaard at cam, because Nottingham Forest is a good side as well. They're not in the same caliber as Liverpool. So I think Arsenal really should attack this game. I think Nkapie, that's also a good signing. I think he's probably going to compete with Lewis Skelly at left back for now, I think, as Saliba's injured, and probably Calafiori and Gabriel will be the center backs, is what I'm envisioning. I think Arsenal are going to be very hungry after Liverpool. It must have been really hard for them to lose that point on a free kick like that. It's just world class. Nothing really you can do about it. So I think they're going to be hungry. But onto Forest, I think Forest is also going to be hungry because they lost 3-0 to West Ham. If you know anything about West Ham, they're not it. Graham Potter needs to go back to being a pundit, honestly. And I think he will soon enough. But yeah, I think Forest is also going to be hungry after West Ham. But we got some things to look out for there, whether or not we're going to see a full debut from Omari Hutchinson and James McAtee. The problem there is that Gibbs White is the 10, and he's really good. I think he can play 8, but you also got Elliot Anderson there. And then Sangare is pretty good as well. So I think McAtee is going to end up being pushed out to the wing, which I don't know. I feel like if maybe McAtee plays the 10 in conference league, in the conference league games, because I'm starting to question that signing, because I know he could definitely play on the wing, but I just don't know if that fits, which is why I think Nuno Espirito Santos might be gone soon. Because I just don't think the signings they made were really necessarily a great fit for what he wants to do, his system. But McAtee is a quality player, so I'm sure he will contribute and do well. But yeah, hopefully we get to see a full debut from him as well as Hutchinson. Hutchinson is a signing that made a bit more sense to me from the standpoint of Nottingham Forest, being that he's pacey, he'll catch you on the break. Basically, he's got power and he's skillful. So I think it's interesting to see how this new Forest will look. We're probably not going to see that much of it against Arsenal, but we may see more intentionality with keeping possession, which I think will be very important. Also for Nottingham Forest, one thing that I've been curious about is where has Douglas Luiz been? Where has Douglas Luiz been? I mean, this is a player that honestly I would have wanted Manchester United to sign this summer. I mean, we didn't bring in a center mid. He's a quality player, Premier League proven, but he hasn't touched the field once. I don't know if he's still struggling with fitness. I don't know if they're trying to break him in. But I also mentioned they have Sangare and Elliot Anderson, so I understand that their midfield is good, and that may be the reason why. As the competitions get, or games get more frequent, we'll probably see more of him. But I think Douglas Luiz should definitely make an appearance. But again, he's not really a Nuno type player, I would say, which is why I feel like the board is trying to go in a different direction. I think they should sack Nuno before it gets too bad. That may definitely get clipped and be an awful take in the future, because Nuno is a great manager. I just don't think they are, their ideas are in line with one another right now. So I'm ultimately going to go predict a 2-1 Arsenal victory. Yeah, hate to see it, but there you go. On to Bournemouth versus Brighton. Andoni Iraola, he's doing great. Bournemouth has been great this season. They've only lost one game, and that was to Liverpool. So, and that's with some players out. That's with losing the whole back line. So he's a great manager. I just watched his tactics breakdown, or his I don't know what it's called, but I think it was a Sky interview. I just watched that yesterday. And he was talking about like being from the Basque region and football in the Basque region, as well as in Spain, and his career and the differences between when he was playing at Athletic, I believe, and then for Spain, the differences between the teams. And he's a brilliant manager, tactically astute. His team, he was talking about how intensity that he played under. What's his name? The Leeds manager. I forgot his name, but he used to manage Leeds, and that manager was all about intensity, and you can really see that in the way that Bournemouth play. And I think that's going to cause problems for Brighton. I think Højbjerg could start. I think that's interesting. He's been out, but he recently came back, and he came off the bench in the last game, I believe, against Tottenham. Quality player. Only going to add to what they can do on the other end, which is great. As for Brighton, I would say they've had a very confusing season. They beat City, they lost to Everton, and they drew to Fulham. So very unpredictable team. I think Bournemouth ultimately is the better team, and their intensity is going to be difficult for Brighton to deal with. But I think it'll also be a close game. So I'm going to go 1-1 on that one. A draw, boring, but there you go. Newcastle versus Wolverhampton. I think this is going to be a good game. I'm excited to see Newcastle with strikers, finally. Well, also finally the Isak controversy is done, and the Vissa controversy as well. Gordon's not going to be able to play for Newcastle. He's still going to be serving his suspension that he picked up 2 games ago, I believe it was. And I'm excited to see Voltmad and Vissa in their debuts. I wonder which one of them is going to start. But since Wolves run a 3-4-3, I think Eddie Howe may go to a 5-3-2 again, just what he did last game. So Alenga could initially miss out, I think, just because he doesn't really have a place in a 5-3-2 system necessarily. And he might try both Voltmad and Vissa. I think Vissa should start, being Premier League proven, and Voltmad should be eased into it. You don't want to put too much pressure on him being a young player, for the fee that you brought him in for, especially. And so, yeah. But Newcastle, I think they did do some good business this summer. It's been very underrated, honestly, because now they have optionality in ways that they didn't have before, where they could play Jacob Ramsey instead of Joe Wellington. They could also play Ramsey off the left, I think, like left wing. But if Alenga does start, and if they do go with 3 at the front, then Alenga will finally have someone to feed. And so I think it'll be great. And when Gordon comes back, they're going to be even more dangerous. But Newcastle's a team that I'm really, really high on, honestly. I think they're going to be really, really good, especially like after these signings. I think just the intensity that they play with, the physicality, they're a tough team to beat. Also, they have quality on top of that as well. But just the way they're able to run, it's going to be, I don't know. I think that's what is going to be good about them in Europe. It's going to be tough for some European teams to handle their intensity. And so, yeah. But for Wolves, I'm sorry, there's not much to cover about Wolves. They've been so poor. It's been kind of a tough time for them. So while it may stay close, as Newcastle are gelling with new pieces probably in the lineup, I'm low-key expecting it to get out of hand. So I'm going to predict a 3-0 victory for Newcastle. Now, on to Everton, Aston Villa. This is going to be a really interesting game. I think one of the better games this weekend. Grealish versus old club in Villa. So that's going to be interesting. See how he performs there. See. I think it's at Villa Park, so I guess see the reception. Although maybe it's not at Villa Park, so don't quote me on that. But Harvey Elliott, Aston Villa signed Harvey Elliott. If you guys have been locked in with my Substack, with my Instagram, you would have known that I wrote an article on Harvey Elliott and how he may be the next Cole Palmer. I think this move right here was the perfect move for him. I wasn't expecting a team as good in the Prem, as good as Villa have been, to pick him up. And I think it's a brilliant signing for them. I think he's going to be really good and creative. And he's gonna try to get himself into that World Cup squad, I believe. And I'm gonna enjoy seeing it. Hopefully he proves me right. Come on, Harvey Elliott, prove me right. But yeah, I think that's gonna be interesting. Also, Villa signing Lindelof, I think that was an underrated signing for them. Wouldn't be surprised if he features more for them than expected. And they also got Sancho. But will we see a Sancho debut? I think we should. I think we should see Elliott on the right, Rodgers in the middle, Sancho on the left. I think that makes the most sense. And that's a stacked attack. It's going to be very tricky. But I like Villa's transfer strategy. It's a little bit interesting. I don't know how sustainable it is, but it seems like they kind of just wait until the last moment and then try to sign great players on loan, as opposed to signing them for big fees and only have to pay part of their contracts. And I think, if they're in financial, I don't know if they're struggling with FFP and profit and sustain PSR as well. But yeah, I don't know why they do that, but I think it is an interesting strategy. Like last season, we saw what they did in the Champions League. They honestly played the best against the eventual winners, PSG, and that was due to a lot of the quality they were able to bring in on loan in the January window. Um, but yeah, does Emi Martinez start? Him and the club had basically like parted ways. It seemed like his move to United was all but done. He had agreed personal terms, and then United went and signed Lamont, which I mean, I can't say that I'm upset about it. Lamont looks to be a brilliant young player who can actually stop shots. I mean, Martinez is a little bit overrated, and I think can be a little bit of a circus at times, which I feel like having dealt with Onana, that's not really something that I was intrigued about. I would say Everton's attack is also going to be very, very hard to deal with. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not Dibbling will start. I'm guessing he probably won't start, but I think he will make his debut off the bench. I think Moyes is going to stick with Grealish off the left. What's his name? The guy from Chelsea. I don't really rate him at all, to be honest. Let me not say at all, but I don't rate him that much. I don't know. The blonde guy. And then, what's his name? Off the right. And brilliant player. I also think Beto is a good striker up front. Their attack is going to be hard to deal with, and they're going to be solid. And I'm guessing they're going to try to be solid and counter. I think Villa is gonna struggle molding in some of these new pieces, and they tend to like a high line, which I feel like Everton should be able to exploit, given in and others. And I also just think Everton's attack may be slightly better. So I'm going to predict a 2-1 Everton victory. But on to Crystal Palace versus Sunderland. Crystal Palace is like my second team. Honestly, I love Crystal Palace. I want to get a Palace Elise jersey. So tough. Elise is like my favorite player. But Crystal Palace versus Sunderland. Crystal Palace has been playing great this season, honestly. I love how many Christian ballers they got on their team. I think you got Maxence Lacroix, or Lacroix, however you say it. Mark Gahey. They got others. They got what's his name? I forgot his name. But they have other Christian ballers. So that's low key. And it's just South London. If you guys don't know, I was abroad in London last year. And South London is just where it's at. Shout out my boy Mark. Always got to rep South over North. I mean, Dave's from the South. A lot of people. So I low-key got, Crystal Palace is low-key my second team. But I digress. It's a shame for Gahey that he didn't get his move. But this is why I personally never would have condemned Isak for his actions in Vissa. Because at the end of the day, the player's only leverage is to do what they did. If it's not always, clubs aren't always, at the end of the day, it's about money. It's about trying to win. And yeah, so clubs are not always going to respect, oh, I was a humble servant to the club, never raised a fuss, anything like that. So, let's just, we'll let him get his move. I think for Gahey, if he had been a little bit more like, if he had tried to force his way out, the move certainly would have happened. But now, this could also be a blessing in disguise for him. He's a Christian. I think God is looking out for him, guiding his path. Now he's going to be a free agent next summer, I believe. And now Madrid could be in. But all sorts of massive clubs could be in. So I think, honestly, it might be even better for Gahey, and also could only add to his legacy at Palace if they're able to accomplish something this season, like win Europa League. But yeah. Also, side note, the whole Gahey and Isak, all these sagas have recently made me think like the entertainment industry in a way is like human trafficking, because there are really these players who, like, to be fair, I mean, they did sign illegally binding contracts, so you have to play for, the club, but it's almost, they're being literally sold off to other clubs. And I never really thought about it that way, but it's really just they're getting sold off other men, and they don't really have much of a say. But I mean, there is more player power now. I mean, we're seeing with players forcing their moves, and also that's been a thing in the NBA for even longer, I would say. But yeah, although I understand Glasner wanting Gahey to stay, because Palace really has not backed him financially, if we're going to be realistic, especially after all that he's accomplished. After winning the FA Cup, after winning the Community Shield, getting them in Europe, you should be backing him. To not back him is to say that you basically want him, like, to fail. You're ready to fail. You don't want to succeed. So I understand it from that viewpoint. I mean, they do all that and then they lose Eze, and then they were about to lose Gahey. So I understand why Glasner would want Gahey to stay, even though it is selfish as a coach to prevent your players move just because, the club hasn't really done what they should for you. But ultimately, this all goes back to the club, in my opinion. Sunderland have done decently thus far, but I can't really see them winning this one, to be honest. Mateta is just a beast. Sarr is also really coming into his own this season, which has been exciting to watch. He's a really good player. He's quick, he's crafty, good dribbler. Love Ismaila Sarr. And then obviously Wharton is brilliant, and then Gahey as well, also brilliant. So I'm gonna go 3-1 Palace, which may be a little bit high on the goals, but that's what I'm gonna go with. Fulham Leeds, I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be one of the more boring games. My apologies if you're a Fulham or Leeds fan, but no disrespect to the teams. But Fulham, they didn't really do enough this window. I feel bad for Marco Silva. It's going to be a tough job for him this year, but he's a great manager. I think he'll be able to stick through and make it out. Leeds' attack is also pretty strong. Or not also, but Leeds' attack is pretty strong. And Longstaff and Stack were good midfield signings for them, I think. But I think for this game, Fulham just have a bit more. So, like, I'm gonna go 2-0 Fulham on that game, but honestly, I'm not looking forward to that game. Not really one that I will be watching, if I'm gonna be completely honest. And okay, West Ham versus Tottenham. This is gonna be a great game. Obviously, a London derby. West Ham may have gotten some momentum after the Forest victory, albeit we're in the midst of an international break, so we don't really know how much momentum will carry over. But Doof looks like a really good signing for West Ham at that fullback or left back. He looks like he just goes up and down relentlessly. And he's a little bit of a better dribbler than he seems like. He's a quality player, honestly. I don't think I've seen enough people talking about him, but he looks really good. Tottenham has been really strong up until that Bournemouth game, so I expect them to bounce back. I think their squad and manager are honestly just better, so I would expect them to win. Tottenham's in the Europa League, and they stacked up their squad. It's funny, Daniel Levy actually left, and you could argue it might be because they were doing too much good business, spending too much money, that Levy left. But Tottenham had to do it. I mean, if United were in that position, we would have splashed so much cash. Tottenham's position is even graver than ours, because we, even if we're awful, we're able to make money. We're always gonna produce so much money. So yeah, but anyways, I think it's gonna be interesting to see who we see at striker. Will we see Dominic Solanke or Richarlison or Kolomwani? I think we probably will not see Kolomwani, to be honest. I'm gonna guess I'm going to guess Solanke, honestly. I think Solanke is the better striker, ultimately, even though Richarlison, his work rate is amazing. And Richarlison is very talented, too. But I think Solanke is just a better striker. I think he's been coming back from injury, getting, fit, which I assume is the reason that Frank hasn't been starting him. So I would expect him to start in this game. Another question is whether Xavi Simons will or will not start. Honestly, I think, will Xavi Simons start? I think West Ham is not a great side. Again, I already said I think Potter's going to get sacked soon. So I think if it were me, I would probably do away with either Painha or Betancourt for this game. Personally, I would do Painha. I think Betancourt can do the 6th role. He can fill in. So you're going to have more control. And then I'd have Simons at the 10. Because I think your wingers, I want to see Kudus and honestly, Colomani can also play off the wing. Tottenham has a lot of things they can do. I mean, Frank is going to have so much fun with the squad, and he's so tactically versatile that it's going to be a blessing to watch. But ultimately, I'm going to go with 3-1 Tottenham victory. I just don't see where West Ham are going to come with anything substantial. Now for Brentford Chelsea, this is going to be a good game, I think. Brentford have been struggling for the most part. Honestly, I'm not going to get too much into them. We already know their predicament. They just lost Vissa. They lost their captain, Norgard. They lost Mbeumo, their best player. They lost their brilliant manager, and Thomas Frank. Like, this team has just been decimated. It's going to be hard for them to win any games this season. But I'm sure they will win some. But Chelsea, on the other hand, are in great form. I think what they do with Pedro, how they play Joao Pedro and Delap and Joao Pedro together, you have Pedro as sort of like a second striker. Playing off Delap has been brilliant. I think it's just going to offer so many goals for them. Like, they're going to be so threatening. It's just a scary team. They also just have so many options. So I think that's going to be really interesting. But Delap is injured. He's going to be out for a little bit, I believe, with a hamstring injury. So that's going to be tough. So I would assume that we're going to see Pedro start at striker. I'd assume we'd see Garnacho start off the left. I think he's just better than Bino Gittins. He's prime proven. I think Chelsea got a complete bargain for him. And United, it's just annoying. We're awful at selling, but it's okay. It is okay. Hopefully we're able to work through it. As for Cole Palmer is still injured. I wonder when he's gonna come back, because it was a little bit abrupt. He was supposed to start in the last game, but he just, right before the game, he sat on the bench, which was, I mean, it was a little bit of a shame. I wanted to see him play, but Estevao started and he got an assist. He announced himself, just as he did. He announced himself for the Seleção just the other day, scoring a goal for Brazil. I'm sure he'll be very, very proud about that. So he's up and running now. So I think even without Palmer, they should be fine for this game. They're just playing Brentford. So I think it'll be chill. And I wouldn't be surprised if Maresca goes back to what he's done a couple of times over the summer with Reece James in midfield, Malo Gusto at right back. I think him and Caicedo there will be good. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see that. They'll control the game, and yeah, I think Tosin has seemed to come into his own for sure. The last time that I saw Chelsea play, I forgot which game that was, but he was brilliant. Honestly, he was so good. So Tosin and Chalobah are a great center back partnership. I think now Chelsea's defense is really, really solid. I mean, if you watch my Premier League predictions video, you're gonna see that I predicted Chelsea would finish in second, and I'm gonna stick to that. Honestly, they're deep. they're honestly so deep. So I'm gonna predict a 3-0 Chelsea victory. Nothing too crazy there. And then Burnley versus Liverpool. Burnley are very poor from what I saw against United. They don't create much at all, and they really aren't too hard to break down or play against either, to be honest. So I'm not going to take too much time analyzing them. I expect Liverpool to wallop them with, hopefully Isak starts. I think he's going to be dying to start. He's going to want to go after that goals record, and he's already a couple games behind. So hopefully we see Isak start. And Ekitike has been scoring every game, so except for the last one. So I think while it is hard for Gakpo because he's also been great, and then you also have Gamoa in the ranks as well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ekitike at the left wing. So yeah, and then so I'm gonna predict a 4-0 victory, I would say, for Liverpool. Should be pretty straightforward. I'm scared now because I'm so glad that they didn't get Guehi. That was going to be such a problem. But I predicted them to finish 4th. But the way Van Dijk has been looking, the way the team has not even been playing their best, but still dominating, it's been scary. I don't know if that's going to bode or end up how I thought it would. Anyways, Manchester City versus Manchester United. Now, this is the game of the weekend. The game of the weekend. Manchester Derby, one of the best games every season. One of the games I look forward to every season, even though it's typically a scary game every season. But I love seeing my team play against good competition. Also because we tend to just rise to the occasion against good competition, which says a lot about our mentality, which is the one thing that I think could be our problem this season. A mentality. You can't blame Amram. If you look at the attacking stats, United have great attacking stats. Amazing attacking stats. So even defensively, our stats aren't that bad. But attacking wise, they're elite. But we just don't convert. We don't come to play against the small teams. We only come against the big teams. And I hope Amram sees this, and I hope he has a way of working this mentality out of them. Because look at Grimsby, and also we gotta talk about Grimsby because they fielded a player who wasn't registered. But nah, honestly, I'm just kidding. We did not deserve to do that. We shouldn't be making excuses against Grimsby. But anyways, I think Cunha should be back, which is awesome. I was really scared after that injury. It was a non-contact injury, and those tend to be pretty scary. But I think it fell really well. The injury fell really at a really good time with the international break being right then. So he got his time to rest, and I think he's supposed to be back. Mazraoui's back as well, which is great because honestly, Shaw has been doing a really good job, but I think first of all, rotation is only good. Competition is only good. It's only going to bring the best out of our players. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I think last season, he played the best off the left center back. And until Martinez and then we're back, I think we could see Yoho, De Ligt, and then Mazraoui at times on the right center back. Because honestly, when he played against Burnley, I think it was, when he came on, he seemed to understand really what that center back is supposed to do, how you're supposed to push up. Obviously, we're chasing a game as well, but he's pushing up, and he just has quality on the ball. De Ligt was doing the same against Grimsby, but it was Grimsby. I don't think he's going to do that necessarily against every team, even though that may be what Amram wants. But he's not silky like Mazraoui on the ball. Mazraoui is brilliant. I'm so happy he's back. Once Martinez is back as well, it's going to be... But Lamont is also in now. I think he's probably going to be second choice goalkeeper for a bit, which It's probably the right thing. I mean, we've had trouble breaking in goalkeepers. I mean, Deer and Onana, we've seen how that has gone. And our goalkeeper situation is going to be really interesting because now we have 3 goalkeepers who, as it stands, could be our number 1. So what is the pecking order going to be? I think there was a report that apparently because we didn't make the Champions League, and so it's a stipulation in the contracts that players would receive a 25% wage decrease. And so apparently upon hearing that, Onana, when coming back to Carrington, wanted a new contract, which made Amram furious because of the way he was dealing with it. Thought was not really professional, which I completely agree, as I understand. Because it's so funny because Africans have this rap of being greedy. But let me just say, Africans support all their extended family. Like for the most part, most Africans send a lot of money back to support their extended family. They build projects in their home countries. So to some extent, I get it, but I do think that it's a little bit ridiculous after the season that he had, especially to come in and demand a new contract. And so I could understand why Onana hasn't really featured as much and why he may be 3rd in the pecking order now. But I think we're just going to have to see. City also have a goalkeeper dilemma because really Donnarumma should be the one to start. But Trafford is probably better with his feet. We know Donnarumma, in my opinion, is just not a Pep signing. He's not that good with his feet. And I think this really points to how Pep is really leaving after this year. And the board is making decisions for beyond Pep, which is smart on their end. But I think, and this may be me trying to cover my own tail a little bit with my own prediction of City winning the league, but I think that could ultimately hamper Pep's what he's able to produce, the results, because I don't really think, I mean, to be fair, they've always had a structure in place, so it hasn't always been Pep ever, but I think more and more recently they've been straying away from what Pep may want in their signings. So yeah, I think that's interesting, but I think these signings, yeah, I don't know. I think I need to figure out his name. I think it's Seshko. But I expect a Seshko. let me say that 3 times fast. Seshko. Okay, I'm low-key tough, but I expect him to start for the first time in the Prem. Amram had been talking about how he'd been managing his minutes because he hadn't played 90 minutes all preseason, and basically just talking about fitness. But he played against Grimsby full 90. I think this time we're going to see a full 90 here. Also because Mount is injured, I think now Cunha, we probably won't see Cunha at the striker, but in the preferred left 10 position, which will open up the striker for Seshko. Although I will also acknowledge that we could see Zirkzee. That is something to look out for. I personally, what would I do? I love Zirkzee, so I'm like low-key biased. Oh, but I also just think Zirkzee is gonna cause I just think the way, which is what I had also said, and a lot of people have been saying in the summer, is just the dynamic between those 3 attackers would be so dangerous that honestly, I think I want to see Zirkzee start. So I'm going to say Zirkzee start. Even though last game he was pretty awful in my opinion. It was not a great game from him. But against Grimsby, I thought he had a really quality performance, albeit, again, Grimsby. I expect the attack to be strong. I want to see Mainu Bruno midfield because I think we could handle it physicality-wise against City, and we need the quality. I mean, as much as Rodri is a beast, and I love Rodri, I think, especially coming back from this injury, I wouldn't necessarily say that right now he's a physically dominant player, even though he never was necessarily a physically dominant player to begin with, but he definitely could, defensively, he was always knocking people off the ball. He was a linchpin, definitely in defense. But I don't know about his intensity and the physicality right now, which is a huge factor in the Prem. As well as, if they play Bernardo Silva, who's the captain, so I feel like he has to play. I think we're gonna be able to deal with that. Reinders is a little bit more intense, but I think Bruno and Manu could definitely do it. I mean, Manu has already had great games against them. Bruno has as well. I think this is just what we need to see ultimately. And Manu's going to be hungry. I mean, Amram says he has to prove his spot in the squad, which is, I agree. He should prove his spot in the squad. And so hopefully he's able to do that and be really competitive. I think City are going to need to figure out how to prevent the counterattacks, because Nuri or Rico Lewis, if they play left back, they're going to get cooked by Mbeumo and his runs. So I think he might have to go back to Vardiol at left back, which he hasn't done in a while, or Kusanov. I think that's something to look out for. If he doesn't do that, it could be really dangerous. I mean, Mbeumo's runs are just, he's a relentless runner. He's going to run in behind time after time after time. And he's a good finisher. He's going to keep finishing. He's going to keep scoring goals. Like, I think he's going to be the man of the match in this game. So yeah, they're going to have to figure out how to prevent the counterattacks, which is honestly always a problem with them, just in the style of play that they do have. I think Phil Foden and Rodri should probably start with Reinders, but I think he's gonna go Silva, because Bernardo Silva is the captain, even though Bernardo Silva is brilliant. So, you're not losing there. But yeah, I'm guessing Foden will probably come off the bench or off the right instead of Oscar Bob. But I know Pep loves Oscar Bob, and he's been playing really well. So I think that's interesting. But I think, honestly, City should really do what Chelsea do in playing, what's his name, Delap and Pedro together. Because I feel like Marmoush really is just a second striker. Playing off the left is not really working. It just looks weird. You want him closer to the net. You want him to be able to get shots on goal, have that space, be able to coordinate movements with Haaland to terrify center backs. So I think, but I don't know if that's a Pep type 10. So I think, I don't know. Maybe Pep has to evolve, or I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know if that's Pep's style. But I think Pep may try to be tricky and go back three like he did last time, which is an indication for me that he's a little bit threatened by Amorim. I mean, City's new sporting director used to be the sporting director at Sporting. So there were already rumors that Amorim, because people knew Pep was going to leave, there were rumors circling that Amorim was going to be the replacement for Pep because Hugo Viana was there, that he was going to bring his man in. But ultimately, we saw that didn't happen. And then, obviously, they played each other in the Champions League, and Amorim won 4-1. So I think when he played him for the first time in the Premier League, he was like, okay, I got this. I'm going to change things out, play a 3-back, which is unlike Pep to change things so drastically because of the opponent. So I think that shows also Amorim's quality, nous. Yeah. So I'm going to predict ultimately a 3-1 United victory. I think Mbeumo's going to get a goal, at least a goal. I think Cunha's going to get a goal. I hope to see a Sechko goal. And for City, let's go with a Cherki goal. I think he's probably going to come off the bench realistically, but I think he's going to remember what happened in Lyon last year in the Europa League, and he's going to want to get revenge, which I think is partly also why he went to City. But let me not think, we're the cause of everything. It's probably not the full reason. But yeah, I mean, that's it, guys. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube at Toa TV, as well as my Substack at Erwin Toa Photo, and my Instagram at E_T_media. where you can find information about new videos. You can find shorts, like short clips, reels, things like that. Make sure to check that out, guys. But it's been a pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you have other predictions, if I missed anything, what you want to hear about moving forward. Just say in the comments. Yeah.